So this is part of a series of Hades streams where I'm doing 32 heat, boonless, and mirrorless. Mirrorless kind of self-explanatory, no mirror. Boonless just means that if I get a boon at any point in the run, I cannot use it and I have to sell it when I can. It's one in a series of 6. I did every weapon. This had been done once before by Nana, which inspired me to do this. She did it once with the rail with Hestia. And so I wanted to use a different rail aspect and also use all 5 other weapons because I thought it would be really fun and interesting, right? To be the first person to do it and also just to showcase the different weapons. I just thought this is a really neat challenge. It's a little different than like speedrunning, for instance. The footage here is from a little while back. I recorded these all in February and March, I believe. And then I was super duper sick, which is unfortunate. I was a bit under the weather. So I don't remember exactly every single thing I did, which will make it fun for me to watch. And also the guests haven't seen it ever before. So it'll be super fun for everybody to watch. With that being said, I think we're going to hop into this one. I'm going to start the little death here that proves that we're unseated. And then we can just kind of talk about things, right? Zach, do you want to introduce yourself to people? What do you do? How have you been?
Yes, I suppose that would be useful. My name is Zach. I'm Quentin's brother, and that's always a good thing. That's what they tell me, at least. I'm part of a podcast called The Musical Moogle, and we talk about video game music all the time, or as often as all the time can be. And yeah, come check us out. You can check us out on online at themusicalmoogle.com. And anywhere that podcasts are sold. So something like that. I'm not good at this stuff, but I am excited to see this Hades run, just like last time.
So, I feel like I say this every time, but it's not because of the gun that's behind me to my head. It's actually because it's just genuine. But the podcast that Zach was referencing, and as little of a salesman as he may be, I think it's fantastic, right? And it's not just because he's my brother. If anything, I think that's a detriment to it because, I've heard his voice enough. But
most people refer to me as fantastic. A detriment.
But yeah, with that being said, actually, let me ramble a little bit, do a little intro on what we're doing here, and then we'll get into it.
Just like the last time, because like I was excited going into the shield run that you did, just not really having any expectations. I've personally loved the game Hades, love everything about it, but I'm not the speedrunning type, and I'm also not the let's see how much I can hate myself with this game type. I'm very casual, and it was like. It can be a little hard to define because I think for someone who does it, like especially for people who don't even know the game, sometimes it can look like really simple, like, oh, what you're doing isn't that hard. But I think that if anyone goes and watches at least the video that you did with me, I'm sure the video that you did with everyone else, any of the other videos will give as much information, but the amount of knowledge that you have to have about the game and how certain things are going to apply over the entire run or how it's going to apply in the current level that you're in. Or not level, but like the floor, like Tartarus and whatnot. Like all of that information is what makes doing this stuff possible. So for anybody who's curious about it, it does take a lot more than just, well, I hit him and I ran away. Well, I hit him and I ran away.
Yeah, actually, we didn't pre-plan that conversation there, but I love the state of mind you're in. That's basically exactly what I try to say, except I say it in a lot more words. We're gonna hop into it, and we're gonna watch me lose a previous run. So that's pretty fun. So this, again, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm just gonna state this matter of factly really quickly. In the high heat leaderboard for Hades, you have seeded and unseeded runs. Unseeded means that you didn't pre-plan your route, which is something that you can do by quitting a run as opposed to dying naturally to get a reset RNG. So that's what we're seeing at the beginning of the video is me showing that I'm not quitting out and pre-planning a route. I'm unseeded on basis that I freaking died. Isn't that crazy? Apparently 300 times, so says Hypnos. So that's pretty cool. I wanted to make a typical joke, like, oh, that's got to be a world record, but like, I don't know, people are crazy over this game. I don't think that's even remotely
I've
close.
got world record in most suicide attempts. Jesus.
But yeah, this is the fun part of me dashing through the house, and also through the snow on a 1-horse open sleigh. So actually, this is a fun thing that should be fun for you, Zach, because I don't think I don't think you knew this. last time that Zach was on a stream with me, we did the shield aspect, or the shield weapon. Maybe it was an aspect of a weapon of a shield. We did the
It
shield.
was the Zeus aspect.
Which was actually the first one that I completed this challenge with. And today we're doing the spear, which is actually the second one that I completed this challenge with. So you're seeing my earliest, most naive runs.
I'm seeing you at your most vulnerable.
Welcome in, Wi-Fi. Thank you so much for the subscription. But yeah, so this was actually, I actually am going to use the word actually a lot, actually. No, I wasn't super duper decided on which aspect I wanted to use for this, because while the spear can be fun and the spear has, you know, some, I couldn't decide if I want to say good or fun because I don't really have a hard stance there. It has some aspects for sure. None of them seem particularly appealing for this specific challenge, right? So I just went with Achilles, which I think of these is probably the one that's most appealing again still for this challenge. And also it was just generally my favorite spear. So I was like, yeah, let's take that and see what happens. So actually that moment that I was just like running around dashing by Skelly and everything, I was actually remembering Achilles. I was like, is this what I want? Does this seem like a good idea? Yeah, I don't know. Why not?
So in the opposite fashion of the one that you're doing with the shield, you're going to be trying to get more bull rush related perks and whatnot with this one?
Typically in an Achilles run. However, something that I wasn't sure about, and that actually relates to what's on the screen right now. So I paused for the Pact. I always do a quick run over of the Pact. A run over in my freaking vehicle. A quick glance at the Pact here. And in relation to what Zach was just saying, damage control down bottom I do have on. And the way that Achilles works is after you do the special, which it like buffs your attacks that come after that, or casts, but in the matter of this run, I couldn't think of a word. Within this run, basically just buffs your attacks. But unlike the Hades aspect, which buffs them for a certain amount of time, this just buffs them for a certain amount of attacks that you do, even if they miss. So it's like your next 3 or so. It was just on the screen. You guys saw it. Your next 3 or so attacks are buffed. But damage control has enemies not take damage for 2. And so normally you would use Achilles and like buff yourself while the enemies are spawning in and then attack them, because you can't really do it too much in the middle of a fight. You know, situationally you can, but not too much. So it kind of negates it to a degree, right? I'm just going to hit them with my powerful attacks while they're immune. So yeah, traditionally you would want to be dashing around, but in this, I think I don't focus so much on that. I mean, I suppose we'll see in a moment. But with that being said, I'm just going to do a quick rundown of the Pact here, and then we'll get to talking about things. So I say this every time. I'm not going to go through every single one this time because you can see them on the screen. The bottom 2 that are hidden by my webcam are approval process and tight deadline, and they're both turned off. Tight deadline being the most significant choice of mine, which is that I don't like being rushed or having to go fast. And the rest of the build here is a lot of things from jury summons to extreme measures to calisthenics program, benefits package. I couldn't decide if I just wanted to keep listing. They all just make the enemies either different and more difficult in a way, or they make them like last longer, have more of them, have more health. And so that's kind of what I did. I was like, you know, I will fight out the tough fight, the long fight. I will, you know, take that on, as opposed to being rushed or having things that drastically change what I'm actually doing, like forced overtime, for instance. So that was kind of my mindset there. I can survive, I can manage, I can mitigate threats. I can do that thing. And that's kind of what you're seeing here. The other thing here that I always forget to point out until some random point in the stream is that this Pact is built with the mindset of final boss as easy as possible. So there's no hard labor that would make the final boss harder. There's no EM4 that would make the final boss harder. Benefits package, middle management, they don't affect the final boss. Heightened security is specifically off because the final boss lays down traps, which are very threatening. So once you get to the final fight, if I can make it through all the rooms, which RNG can be helpful for, or, you know, just the fact that individual enemies in rooms aren't like bosses, the final boss should be manageable, ideally. So that was the other thought here that I kind of don't really remember to say until random points.
Well, it's sounding good now, so let's hope for the best. pray for the worst. Wait.
Wait.
Let's play the game.
With that being said, I did a quick rundown. I was just saying, in regards to the pack or the challenge or the spear, do you have any fun thoughts before we hop in?
No, I am just looking very much forward to it. I know this is going to be the same rundown as the last one, and I'm interested to see how it applies with this weapon.
Well, here we go then. I think the one thing you missed before you had it out was just that I was saying that the build, as much as it's built for like managing things and you know, making like the fight drag out and me have to do more fighting as opposed to more rushed or difficult fighting, I also do cater the build toward the boss. So the boss doesn't get a lot of enhancements based on the things that I have taken. They do a lot of buffing to like regular enemies and room difficulty.
Ceaseless chatter.
Learning. I know we talked about this last time, but I always like every character is my favorite character. I love all of them.
Yeah?
Yeah, Lerny's the best though.
Oh, I definitely thought...
No, Skelly. Oh, I love Skelly so much.
I definitely thought you were going to
He's
say
so fun.
Demeter. You know, I thought that was relevant.
She's all right. She's K. She's K.
So, for anybody who hasn't seen these or isn't too familiar, so I'm doing boonless, which means that taking boons is bad for me, right? And the first room that you can get is going to give you either a boon or a hammer, right? A hammer would be fantastic, and a boon is, you know, unfortunate, but the most likely outcome. So we did get a boon. We got Demeter to start. Demeter I don't feel like is the worst character specifically that you get to start. But typically, this is kind of something I talk about throughout all the runs. I would take cast immediately if it was an option because it's not very effective in a run like this, especially a Shattered Shackle run, a Mirrorless run where you can't retrieve it, you only get one. She didn't offer cast. So from the start, I had to lose attack, special, or dash. Dash is not really something you can lose, so really it's attack or special, one of your main attack functions. And you'll see here that I took special, and that's going to be kind of a theme of this weapon. I was talking about before how like I wasn't passionate about any of the spear choices going into this. Achilles' thing is that the special can help you like power up your attacks. It's like a dash and retrieve.
Yeah, it's basically that bull rush thing.
Yeah, but it's not very powerful or useful to me specifically in my playstyle, I should clarify, to use actually as an attack. So if I have to lose one of the two attacks, that's kind of a clear choice. The special is almost like an accessory to the regular attack.
Now, I believe we had mentioned the last time that you and I did the stream together, the one thing that you had, and I don't want to call it a complaint, but the one thing that you had to say about Hades is just that maybe working on the usefulness of all of the weapons would make it more fun to be able to just switch between all the weapons. Some of them are just like their special is just not as useful as a lot of other stuff. And I feel like this one is one for me. The spear special is just a general like, oh, that's nice. It feels like it should either do more damage or somehow be more useful.
So in regards to what you were saying, to a degree, I don't necessarily think that the aspects aren't varied in fun ways. I just don't think they're balanced in how good they are. Like I think the idea is there for all of them, right? It's just that some, and playstyles matter, so it's definitely like a my playstyle thing can be important too. But I do just sometimes feel like things are rendered obsolete compared to better things if you're just going for doing well as opposed to, you know, like fun or preferred playstyle.
Hey, again, that not only is it your own playstyle, but what is your goal? Like, what are you trying to do? Even like with this run. So, what'd you end up picking here?
So yeah, this, and again, I did pause. I'm not gonna pause in every single room I ever go to, but maybe I will. You know, what's it to you?
Let's do it.
But no, I pause here because the hammers are a big choice. You get 2 hammers in a run unless you take the anvil at the end. So generally, you get 2 hammers, and this is the first one that I get here. Spin attack, charging up and going faster. I don't know. Maybe that's your thing. Not my thing. Wasn't really a consideration. Serrated point is a very fun hammer for the spear, but very scary on a boonless, mirrorless run to lose 25% of your dash when you won't get a second dash because you can not overcompensate. You can appropriately compensate for dash reduction if you have multiple dashes, because the 3 times damage on the dash strike is nice. But here I'm going to take Flurry Jab, which goes in line with something I talk about a lot during these runs, which is just the ability to hit stun enemies, and Flurry Jab gives it to you. I feel like the regular spear kind of had that, but it gives it to you even more so. It just rapid jabs your attack. Here is also an Erebus room. Zach, I don't know how familiar you are with those.
Hey, actually, I think I did it once and just didn't like it and just didn't do it again.
So it's funny because there's a couple different time trials within this game itself, like a Trove or like we were just talking about Thanatos, like a Thanatos thing.
Yeah.
But this one here is more of a QB kind of style trial. When you go into the Erebus rooms, you have to not get hit in order to get the reward. Otherwise, you just get something that heals you like 1 HP, 2 HP, something like that.
Did you know that Erebus backwards is super? I don't know what that means, but that's Erebus
I'm
backwards.
pretty sure that's just a description of my gameplay.
Superb.
But no, yeah.
Ooh, they're doing the thing where they got the line between them and it'll kill you.
Exactly. And also, the skulls, which are, I think, the fastest enemy in Tartarus, are sped up. So that's always fun. That's their other benefits package.
Yeah, I was about to say, everybody's moving a little too fast for me.
But yeah, the Erebus rooms, not only do they give you a no-hit challenge, they also, this one doesn't seem to so far, but they also can include enemies that are from like further on areas. They can be like more difficult than a room of that given world would be, like than a Tartarus room would be here. And another thing, I talked about this in a different stream, but I just think it's fun, is in regards to a boonless run, sometimes I would take a room like this and purposely lose if no reward was a good option. Like if I had to take a boon or go to Erebus and get a boon, I would just go to Erebus and lose so I don't get any boon, you know, nothing that sets me back. So that's just an interesting thing to think about strategically if you're trying to do something similar like this. Because I think I checked during one of my attempts, the Erebus rooms, I believe, do count as a room, like a chamber progression. Like you get to the boss on the 13th chamber or whatever it is. I'm just throwing a number out there. They will count as one of those 13. So it would be a room that you wouldn't have had to take a boon.
Now, okay, so I need to chime in real quick and let you know, right, since we're coming to the end of this Erebus room, or let's see what you pick real quick. Okay, we saw what you picked.
Fantastic.
So I just thought, you know, we've got all these stats, we've got all this information. I thought it'd be fun to just chime in with a little bit of Greek mythology jokes, just to lighten the mood a bit, since we're playing such a somber, you know, sad. This game's very sad. That's what this game is. So here, I got a question for you, Quentin. Where did Greek women go before going to their lavish parties? Where do you think they went?
I don't know, Zach. Where did they go?
They went to their Hera appointments.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
You get it? Because it's Hera, like in the game.
Yeah, like the bow aspect, right?
Yeah, they went to the bow store. Their Hera appointments.
They also got a bow for their hair do, right?
Oh, fuck! You just excuse my F-bomb. I don't care. That was funnier than I thought it was. I'm sorry. Your joke was better than mine.
One thing I forgot to mention in the Erebus room was that it also gives you a like enhanced reward. So the health that I got from there was worth 50, and the health being the best thing that you can pick up in a boonless run, it was pretty nice for that to be the reward that I got from an Erebus room. Was not only
I was gonna say it makes the Erebus room worth doing at that point.
Yeah.
Now, silly question, but maybe not. Do the Erebus rooms count as a room towards getting towards the boss?
Yes, that's what I was. You were preparing your joke, and that's what I was going off on.
Oh, perfect.
But yeah, with that being said, this is benefits package we're seeing here with this enemy as well. They have the laser between them, and also they have clones on the screen. So the clones do real damage, but they will also keep respawning if you don't kill the main one. So they're a threat, but you know, they're not like a disguise, like you know your anime clones. But something good about having like a flurry weapon, whether it be one that is a hammer, like this is the flurry jab for the spear, or if it's just like the regular gloves and the fact that they do fast attack, same with the rail, is that when there's multiple enemies on the screen, especially the clones, because the clones all have 1 HP. 1 HP of armor, 1 HP of regular health. It's just a quick way to disperse of them, as opposed to something else that may do better damage, like DPS-wise even, but not hit as many times. So just another advantage to having flurry jab.
All right, 5 seconds of silence. That means we got time for another joke. Hey, what material did the Greeks use to build their homes?
I don't know. See, the
Concrete. concrete.
I was gonna say the answer to your joke depends on the answer to my question, which is what website are you looking these up on?
It doesn't matter.
Can we get a shout out?
Who cares? Why did your friend nickname her philosophy professor Hades? He used to bore her to death. That one was not good. That one was literally not good.
Yeah, see, the thing is, it doesn't make sense because Hades is very fun. Do you guys see this? Do you see this action of Zack standing still? No, I will say this Tartarus area has been a blessing from the start of this run because it's given me a blessing, like the gods give to Zagreus. Because it's given me so much health. Obviously, you had the Erebus room that had 50, and then I've already found 3 darkness rooms, which gives you 5 apiece, and then we're in another Centaur Heart room right now. So that's a lot of health before you even get to the first boss. That's also a lot of mines on the screen.
Yeah, that's not bad. The mines are bad. The health is not. Because I remember when you did it before with the shield, the first thing I said was, "That's only 50 HP."
Yeah, yeah. And like the first fight isn't necessarily scary, but I'm not thinking 140 is a good amount of health for the first boss. I'm thinking 140 is a good amount of health to build upon later in the like. I'm thinking how much health I'm going to end up with by the end of it. You know.
So you've done some of the other streams. I'm curious about with the shield, the final boss. And obviously we're not there yet, but the final boss was like 25 minutes long or something like that. It was a pretty drawn out fight. Just it's hard and you don't want to die. How were the other fights against Hades?
So yeah, interesting that you should bring that up because that goes to a good point about boonless, mirrorless runs, and that I'm not going to get any more powerful than what I am now, which is kind of what makes the Hades fights take long, other than, again, the dataless hammers.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that it's bad it takes long, it's just, this is why.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of varies by weapon. Like the bow, for instance, and I talked about this during the bow stream, I think that's really strong even under the boonless circumstances. Now, who I referenced in the intro, she was the first person to do this challenge. She did it with a single aspect, with a single weapon. She used Hestia, which is an aspect of the rail, where when you reload, it does a very powerful shot. I think I don't know. Somebody in chat will probably correct me, but it's like 150 or something, maybe a little more than that.
Chat.
And with Shattered Shackle, which is a given on a boonless run, it doubles your damage for your regular attacks without boons, your regular specials without boons, and your regular casts. So Hestia is doing like 300 plus, depending on like hammers and such, just by default. So it just reloads 300, reload 300, reload 300. So it very much depends on your aspect. As you can see, I have the flurry attack, which makes it easy to get a bunch of attacks in a row in. And the spear is doing double damage from Shattered Shackle, so it's got decent damage output. So with that being said, I suppose we'll see how long it takes Hades, right? Will I even get there on this run that you've read the title of already?
And you know that I will.
Who knows,
this.
right?
Who knows? Okay, so I don't want to keep going on about this because these jokes are actually just being bad. So I'm gonna read one last one and we'll be done because this is bad, and I want to end it on a bad note because I feel like the best way to go out is poorly. So
I'm loving this mentality. I think I'll take that into this run.
What did the Spanish farmer finally name his chicken after he insisted on using a Greek name? Quentin, this is bad. Do you know any Spanish at all?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He named him Apollo.
Yeah.
Apollo. It's.
I think that one works better written.
It doesn't work. It's just a bad joke. If any of you out there appreciated my Greek mythology jokes instead of talking about why we're here, let me know in the comments. Please get me removed from chat.
Yeah, if any of you appreciated his Greek mythology jokes during the run, please, if you're watching the video on YouTube, give us...
As soon as I have a Twitter, at me.
Yeah, if you're watching the video live now on Twitch, then, give us a YouTube subscribe. And if you're watching it on YouTube... No, I'm kidding. But yeah, Tartarus, as you can see so far, it's like... I think I did take damage and I got a fountain, so that's nice. But, it's a difficult challenge, so you want it to be interesting from the start. And the fact that you start with low health and you're at the most power that you're going to get, it can, in theory, be challenging or interesting. But this is, it's Tartarus. This is where you build your build. It sounds kind of silly to say, but this is where you focus on even little things like there was a room a moment ago where it's like the timed room. You have 45 seconds, not defeat all the enemies. Exactly the opposite of defeat all the enemies, survive. But if you do defeat the enemies, you get extra money, right? So I was doing that, fighting the enemies, you know, choosing the routes to take, so on and so forth. Here, as you can see, I got Electo, which I was going to say I think I've gotten...
I remember she's not your favorite.
Yeah, I was going to say I think I've gotten all three during these runs. But yeah, Electo is not the favorite. I think the most difficult fight, in my opinion, of the three, not that any of them are particularly difficult, because again, we are first boss still.
I like Megara.
But yeah, so there she is. She's on the screen there for you.
Murder. Oh wait, no, that's not
no?
Electo. That's I forgot her name. That's okay.
That would be Tisiphone.
The Symphony. That's it. Murder.
So as you can see here, we were talking about damage output, and we were also talking about me not liking Electo. But as you can see, it has good range for its damage. So that's kind of what the spear does. You know, for anybody again who's checking this out to like learn about the weapon or to like see how to do things, the spear has good range damage combo, especially with the flurry jab, and especially for not being a projectile. And so as you can see, I went through Electo's first phase, like her first until she goes immune, very quick. And also you can see on that projectile that she's doing there, I can just attack right through them because the attack deletes the projectile and you're far enough away for it to not hit you in between or too fast. So the spear definitely has decided advantages, and those are going to be relevant for, you know, most of the fights in this game.
I was gonna say you're staying perfectly out of range for most of these things because the spear actually reaches a lot farther than it seems. It goes as far as its animation.
Yeah, and I think I got... Oh, well... I was getting ready to say that
I think I make it through this perfect.
No, I was actually getting ready to say that I think I had already gotten hit once at the point we were speaking there. I don't even remember what by, but, you know, it happens. One benefit to the Electo fight is that it is fairly easy to get her to step on the traps, which I believe is what killed her there. Maybe I attacked her at the exact same time. It's probably me. I deserve the kill, not the traps.
You deserve it. No, it was definitely you. I mean, it was your father that laid the traps anyway, so that, you know, it's basically your, you know, you did.
As Zagreus would say, in the name of Hades. You know.
In the name of my father.
Just a regular Beyblades arena. Yeah, that checks out. So this is the part where in between...
This is the part where I stand here.
This is the part where in between every area we will sell the boons with the little fountain there. And it is nice. I don't think I got very many this time, right? Yeah, just the one. But you do get the money for them, so that's nice. And then, ideally, if you're smart and attentive, you also remember that you have your special back, and you utilize that in the next area. We'll find out if I do or not. You know?
I have a striking feeling I know where this is going. No, I know what it feels like, though. You get focused. And you're like, your brain is just like, I can't press the button. Can't press the button.
It's not, yeah, and it's not even just focused. It's kind of like, it goes in with my general philosophy for the fights where I'm like safe and don't make mistakes, especially because a mistake in a fight can cost you the whole run. Pressing the wrong button once when you can't use that move can cost you a whole run. And for anybody who's curious, if you want to do a similar challenge, and I believe Now did this on her run, you can go into the controls and like demap whatever button you can't currently use. I don't do that strictly exclusively because I'm a madman. I do, however...
I was gonna. Is that something you can do mid-run? Like, just pause it right now and then turn it off, and then you get it back, turn it on?
Yep.
Oh.
I do, however, get hit by every single beam attack that those guys threw, so that's fun.
I was gonna say, you can dodge straight through it, can't you?
Correct.
Just straight
so
forward?
We kind of saw this with... I mean, basically every run, with every time that every mistake I ever made is exclusively... Let me get my excuse ready. Because of benefits package and enemies that have a speed increase. So it was throwing off my timing on them. Their attack,
not my
I
fault,
believe,
their fault. It's your fault, I said.
I believe their attack both travels faster and also they do it faster, like their load up.
Oh, I mean, yes, I can see that.
So I just didn't adjust for them. We did talk about on a previous stream how the Green Bombers, I'm sure that's their official name. There's no way that anybody actually knows a different name to be official for them. They can hit you from off screen with like a long range projectile. Same thing happened there. That guy hit me twice from upstairs when I was downstairs, and that's just rude, you know? Bad neighbor.
Yep. I mean, he had the high ground, Anakin.
Yeah,
wait, is that it? I don't watch Star Wars.
Look, it was close enough for me.
There's sand in my boots. I think that's also a Star Wars joke.
So this, as you can see there, like taking that enemy out before they get the chance to do a single thing, and I talk about this not every stream, but for a lot of streams when it's relevant, is just hit stun locking enemies. A lot of situations, as you'll see there with the slam dancers, I can't like just do it for their entire lifespan because the other ones are going to come in and be a factor. But getting them in a position where you can comfortably do it for as many hits as you can, I find that more comfortable for me in my playstyle than just like dashing around like a madman trying to get as much possible damage per possible second on as many different enemies as possible, possibly. So I think this is the first boon in Asphodel that I've had to take. Asphodel is the shortest area for anybody to know. It has the least amount of rooms, which...
Oh my god, that's why I was about to say Asphodel is probably my favorite place to play through. I just enjoy the scenery and whatnot, but now I'm realizing it's because I don't have to suffer through it for very long.
Correct. Yeah, I think with the lava and with some of the rooms being particularly large, the rooms are usually either particularly large like this one is, or there's a lot of lava that you have to avoid in like a compact area. And I think they just didn't want to run that into the ground. I imagine. I'm just theorizing what Supergiant did right now on stream.
It's just a game theory.
Yeah.
Do people still watch game theory?
I don't know. I'm not people. But anyway, I'm a demigod? No, but yeah, so similar thing here. So I was talking about like bad pulls on enemies, and the slam dancers here, which is the purple bombers, they are not necessarily a great pull because they don't stand still.
Wait, are they actually called slam dancers?
Something like that, I believe.
Nope, they're slam dancers now because that's what they are.
But
these kids are core as fuck.
They don't stand still, which can be a wee bit annoying. As you can see, I took the special immediately there too. I got the same deal that I got from Demeter. Artemis went to the same shop as Demeter and gave me this as my Christmas gift, which was dash, special, or attack. So they don't want to give me cast and call, which is a bit unfortunate. I don't think they will give you call if you don't have like an attack, special, cast, or dash or something like that. Maybe they will. I just play this game. Hear me out. I just play this game. But yeah, that wasn't too bad of a pull in that room because the slam dancers, although they do dash around a little bit, which is a bit annoying, they still have to be close before they can attack you. And then the skeletons, not the ones that rake a million times, but the ones that just do their little dash attack, that's probably the best enemy in Asphodel, other than maybe like witches or gorgons because they're just really weak. But probably still, just because of how slow the skeletons are. Because the witches and the gorgons at least have the projectile going for them.
I was gonna say, like, I don't like the witches, but I think I hate the slam boys worse. Those are probably my least favorite in Asphodel.
So this we get the witches circle, which we were talking about me drawing Electo a lot. Yeah, I get a lot of witches circles here as well. Again, for anybody who didn't know, the middle management difference here is the fact that they have projectiles that can't be attacked through, which is one of the benefits of having a spear in this fight specifically. The long range means that like they can't hit you, the one you're fighting, because you're gonna be attacking it in a direct line that it would be damaging you. But those projectiles, the bigger ones, can't be attacked through. But like you said before, when you gave me that beautiful, wonderful, I'm very thankful compliment of me being good at being the perfect range, that's kind of what I was doing for most of this fight. I didn't want to be across the lava.
Perfect. Don't stop being who you are.
I did get... Oh, goodness. I actually forgot about this because we haven't talked about this on stream. Gods can sometimes replace other gods. And when they do that, they become my favorite god. Shout out to Dionysus. He became my new special, which means I didn't have to take anything new, which means he's great, man. Everybody should go have a drink for Dionysus.
I was actually going to say, in game, I actually really like how they portray Dionysus. I like Dionysus. I think he's fun.
Come on, Zagreus, why don't we just go get drunk and fuck around? Doesn't that sound better than being in the underworld? Come on, Zag!
I don't know about the voice, but I think your quote was perfect. Was that in-game? Did you look that up, too? You probably looked that up. So these were the other skeletons I was referring to a moment ago. They do like 17.5 rakes at you before they're done with the leaves in the garden. And they're a bit more annoying than these ones. Wow, that was perfect timing. That just do one dash. I'm noticing that, like, I guess I kind of knew this by default, but in my mind, I didn't even register that these skeletons, both the blue ones and the bone-colored ones, the pale ones, I don't know.
The pale ones. That's definitely an Elder Ring enemy. Elden Ring.
Elder. I like Elder Ring.
Do you guys know that I play video games? That's why I was invited here. Do you guys know I have a podcast about video game music? Let's go play Elder Ring.
With that being said, where I was going with that was that they were both like leaping around the arena, and I feel like that's kind of a given with how big the arenas are and the fact that they get close to you. But like, I kind of forgot about that even in my mind. I thought of them as like they just had to walk over to you because they don't leap the same way that the slam dancers do leap, which is like consistently at you quickly, like to get close to you. I feel like the skeletons, they leap to like a fairly reasonable range and then you just deal with them.
And then they meander.
Which is just something to keep in mind. Again, like if you were doing this or you were just playing the game in general and you wanted a tip, you know, when they jump at you, don't get too afraid. They're not going to encroach on your personal space until they do.
Gotta love a free room.
Also, a last room before our new friend here.
Aw.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, Larny can come in a couple different variations. It's not the same boss fight every time. He has purple crest, I believe you would call that, on his forehead and spikes. I kind of like those spikes.
Yes, they are called
they're
spikes.
doing
They are
a
called
Vegeta hair kind of thing. I'm a fan of that. More of a Heihachi actually, if you don't count the crest, right?
Oh my god, I love all these references that you're making.
But yeah, so the purple one we get here, he does the waves. Now I'm sure most people are familiar with the attacks, but yeah, he can exclusively do the waves and then the attacks that every Lerny variation does, which is like the one where he dash attacks with his head and the one where he slams in a circle. The waves aren't too problematic to deal with, especially like this when it's isolated me versus him. But when you have the crowd, they can be a little more problematic. It's not as nice as some of his other variations that don't have more direct attacks or projectiles, like the one that summons little enemies or the one that just slams down. I will say, as you saw there, I got hit by him doing the slam attack, which I think is the Lerny attack that I get hit by far the most. Because it does a radial effect, and like it hits all the way to the end of the radial effect, and like in my mind, I'm just always safe. I'm like, it's just a little dust buildup there.
It feels like you're further away, right? Yeah. That's always my problem with it too. But I think personally, I love games like this because it's like it's your fault if you lose. The game is showing you exactly what it wants you to do. So if you just don't do that, it's your fault and you suck.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm so bad at like multi-management when it comes to paying attention to multiple like big enemies on the screen. It's like the one that I am attacking is the one I'm focusing on. So I just always forget like I need to dodge that learning wave.
And I believe this is something that I don't even know if I knew at the time because. I've talked about this a couple times on stream, but I wasn't too involved with like a community or like taking tips for this. I kind of just did this blind with my own knowledge of having played the game a lot. 300 runs, I think it said. That includes a lot of throwaway runs for challenges and stuff.
I was gonna say I think I've had like 40-ish runs. That's about how many times I've played through it.
But I say all that. I feel like we're doing a lot of, specifically me. I'm doing a lot of rambling before getting back to a point from like 7 sentences ago. But said point from 7 sentences ago was that I dashed through his wave attack and I took damage. And I didn't take damage the first time. And I think that's because specifically I did a dash attack. And when you do an attack during your dash, it gives you less iframes. Like you become vulnerable faster. So that's why I didn't make it through his waves. Just clarification for anybody who kind of saw that. Something else I didn't really...
Ooh, well,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you're good. I was just going to comment on how paused we were.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to comment on. I was just going to say something else that I didn't necessarily mention.
All samesies!
Something else I didn't necessarily mention at the start of the stream. There is a lot of pausing and everything because I take breaks when I was live doing these to just, you know, breathe or hydrate or, I don't know, think about things. So we're skipping through the pauses, but we're not skipping any actual content in the run.
So I would like to say my apologies for the jokes earlier. They weren't coming from a website or anything. I came up with them and I came up with them myself, and you know they weren't hitting. Nobody was thinking that they were funny, and I feel like I should apologize because my lack of knowledge of Greek mythology is always going to be my Achilles elbow.
Apology declined. Moving on.
Yeah, no, that was another joke. That one was good. That was a good one. God. This is what I get for sitting through this with you, for getting out of Asphodel with you.
Absolutely.
I get consternation and no laughs.
But yeah, speaking of getting out of Asphodel, we have 230 health, which goes back to saying how much health they were giving you in the beginning. That really is a lot for this point. Like there's...
Wow, you're so healthy.
There's attempts where I've done this kind of thing where... oh, geez. That would be like how much I have when I'm getting to the end, you know? But we're at the beginning of Elysium. As as you can see there, the flurry jab does hit stun lock people, and it does have good reach, but it is very linear, which would be something to know, something that makes the spear unique, right? Well, I guess the bow is pretty linear too, huh? Do I know what I'm talking about? You know? But yeah, so it's just kind of hard to line them up perfectly. Like there, he's a little to the side, so he's still getting hit by 2 out of the 3 attacks, which is nice. Yeah, you kind of just want to straighten them out, which is nice in the fact that a lot of enemies in this game can be kited by Zagreus. Like they'll chase him in a straight pattern. Not all of them do. Like Hades himself, for instance, won't. The Minotaur doesn't always. But yeah, so we get to hear the Daedalus Hammer choice. And as Zach mentioned earlier, the spear kind of has good range, right? But like, what if we gave it more, right?
Ooh. I was gonna say, you're doing a lot better with the spear than I generally do. The kiting, turn around, and then just whack everybody who's in a line there. Definitely much more practice than I personally am, because you're doing way more better than I could.
I will say the only other thought here, I love pausing in the mid animation screens like that. The only other thought here would be triple jab, and although I know they have uses, especially up close, similar with the bow where you can like hit all 3 times, I'm assuming.
Yeah, now that range is so much more important for a run like this.
For not only a run like this, but for the
stay
play
away.
style that I'm doing specifically, you know? And it gave you a bonus damage to the range, and this is one of those things where it's like, you want the candy, like you can't resist the candy, in that I try to tell myself, don't focus on getting them perfectly at the tip for the bonus damage, just get them, play the way you've been playing, and if you get it, and that's good. But I definitely end up going for it a lot.
It's weird trying to like compensate for, like, you had the spear, you got a little longer, and then you had to compensate by being a little bit further away from the enemies. Now it's even longer, and you have to recompensate for being even further away to get that tip extra point. But yeah, no, it's definitely fun watching.
Basically, what I would say is like shout out to any Marth players, you know.
Dude, he literally has Sephiroth's sword at this point. Like, where is he keeping this thing hidden? If you laid Zagreus down and then laid more Zagreus's down until it got to the tip of that spear, we're talking like 4.5 Zagreuses at this point.
Yeah.
How is he holding this?
Pretty
pike?
good measurement you got.
I played a lot of Tetris. I played a lot of Tetris Attack. Let's be real, okay? Tetris is great. Anybody out there wants to blame me on Tetris Attack, I will kill you.
What I will say in regards to that, in regards specifically to the Sephiroth comparison, is that the only problem there is that Sephiroth can do. I know Sephiroth from Smash Brothers. Definitely, that's his only game he's been in.
I know Sephiroth personally. He's in my contacts.
No, but what Sephiroth can do is rounded attacks, and Zag still can't do that. Even if I were utilizing the special, which I'm not, even if I were utilizing the cast, I don't have anything that can attack in an AoE fashion or even in a curved fashion, you know?
I was gonna say I didn't know what you meant by curved or rounded. You mean in like a slashing versus a poking?
Correct. Yeah, I don't do words.
That makes more sense.
You know?
No, I'm sorry, but you said like in a rounded way, and I was like, oh, like when he does like the Ultima Sword thing, and it just like slashes all around him or something. It's like,
no, the windshield wiper, you know?
Yeah. Oh, weep, whoop, weep, whoop, weep, whoop, I killed you. Yeah, no, that's Sephiroth for sure.
Oh, that's actually a good point that Wi-Fi mentioned in the chat. Is he says that's what you get for taking flurry jab, and honestly, for a moment, I paused and I was like, "What do you mean by that?" Because the standard 3 attack pattern is just as linear. It's just slower. And then I remembered that. Did you know with the spear you can charge it up into a spin attack? Did anybody know that? That's crazy. What a fun fact.
What a fun fact that Quentin learned 300 hours into this game.
Yeah, no, the spin attack can be fun, but it's not necessarily something that I wanted to do in regards to this challenge. I didn't think it would be the best way for me in my playstyle, so don't really go that route. So we have Thanatos here, and Thanatos, like I mentioned earlier, kind of turns things into a time trial. And especially in Elysium, where it's tougher enemies, it's a lot easier decision when you're in like Tartarus. But it's like, do you want to try and outpace Thanatos, or do you want to let him clear the room for you, basically for free? Because he'll just delete everything if you run away.
I was gonna say I didn't realize that. I didn't think that he would just like auto kill everyone if you just don't involve yourself, or that it would be faster, I should say.
No, it's not faster. It would be safer is the deal. So it's like safety versus do I risk actually competing with him? And thankfully here I got a fantastic enemy draw. I mentioned liking the witches, and the main reason, well, especially the Elysium witches, because they do the slow attack up there, but the main reason is just how squishy they are. They're very weak health-wise, so I can compete with him here. Even boonless, even with the spear.
Sense.
Now, mind you, it is still close. And this is another thing about prioritizing enemies. Normally in a fight, I would be prioritizing that sword guy down there because he's the scariest enemy. But in this challenge, I want to not prioritize him because he's the hardest one to defeat quickly. It's just something to keep in mind for people that are playing this.
See, again, if anybody missed it at the open of the stream, I had mentioned that, like, the biggest point from somebody who just plays this game casually, it matters more that you, Quentin, you have the knowledge of all this stuff. Literally, that, like, oh, do I even want to try and fight? Am I happy with the enemy choices? What do I want to do with the knowledge that I have? Instead of being someone like me who is, oh, Thanatos is here, I'm doing this run, let me just get through him real quick. Let me just beat through this. Like, I didn't even know that you could just sit there and, like, straight up just ignore him and let him win, kind of thing. Like, ignore the enemies and just let him do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the strategy behind a run like this, and I rewound it for anybody who's curious, just because there's a couple things I was going to talk about real quick. But the strategy is, I don't want to say necessarily something I take pride in, but it's something that I feel good about, right? I don't feel like I have the single best reflexes in the history of the world, or, you know, the hand-eye coordination, or the so on and so forth, right? I drop fighting game combos all the time.
Brains over brawn. The pen is mightier than the sword for that reason, right? Like, you do the work of knowing how to apply this knowledge rather than just, you know, be me and punch it till it stops moving.
But yeah, I do think having that knowledge and, like, being able to strategize the way that I do, I think it's fun because, like, as much as I'm talking about the things now, I'm not doing that I'm not consciously necessarily thinking about those things. I kind of know, right? And yes, it's from a lot of experience, obviously. But, like, also, it's just that those things come naturally to me. Whereas, like, being good with weapons and maybe, like, finding out the best DPS dash attack technique with a certain weapon is ideal for somebody else, or comes natural to them. But, like, to me, when I'm playing, I have to focus on the execution because that's not the part that comes natural to me. But one of the things I wanted to talk about in regards to execution, perfect segue, here is you'll see the shielded enemy down bottom. And this is just a little thing, but you'll see when he does his attack, I'm in very bad position for his attack. No, I'm not. But I was gonna say, like, if I'm a beginner or if I don't know what to do or if I don't do specifically what I'm getting ready to talk about, which is a lot of enemies in combat-oriented games like this, and I've touched on this before, but I just think it's a very important thing. You want to avoid an attack while, I mean, in real life, in, like, combat or in more realistic type combat games where you can't go through enemies. No, this is a serious thing. Like, in actual martial arts.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We brought real life into this, and I got really excited.
You want to, like, pivot off an attack if you want to counter and be in the closest position that you can be while making them avoid the famous, like, Muhammad Ali dodges and such. In this case, Zagreus can teleport through people. So when an enemy is doing an attack, and this is something to keep in mind, you don't want to run away from the attack in general. If you're focusing on optimizing your way of avoiding and escaping, or if it's your only escape option, you want to go through it, like I did there. He dashes forward and does a big spin. That's hard to avoid by running away from it. He chases you down and he does a big spin. I don't attack him there, but, you know, I just go from up here to through him. Which is something that's useful for that enemy. It's useful for the chariots. It's useful for, you know, the Minotaur, for Theseus, for Hades himself. It's just, and I did it a lot in God of War, which is another thing that I was referencing, like games that are built a little more realistic. And in there, it was more pivoting off their attack, like rounding to the side of them instead of, again, running away. The other thing I wanted to point out in this fight while we were talking was this part right here that I particularly love. Now, this doesn't have to do with strategy. This has to do with people are like, oh, which characters do you like? Which characters do you know, what do you think of the Hades characters? For some reason, I'm going to be honest, I'm a bit of a hater, and Thanatos is probably my least favorite character. So the fact that there was an enemy on the other side of him that I could attack, you got to do it through Thanatos, right? You know?
Right.
I just enjoyed that.
Okay, so whiny baby bitch boy Thanatos, he's just sad that he's not Zagreus. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. He's
And there we got it again, attacking, piercing through Thanatos.
Well, in any case, he is my favorite character, and I'm just glad to know who you are deep down truly.
Yeah, sound off. Finally, we got a cast, so that's fantastic. I also think that's the first boon we got in Elysium. Also, for anybody who doesn't know, we were talking about the dilemma of whether to use Thanatos or not, and that's important if you're just doing a regular run, but it's especially important in this because the reward that you get for beating Thanatos is the same every time, which is the reward you get for beating Thanos. I just realized that I stumbled and it made an entirely different character. The reward you get for beating Thanatos is a Centaur Heart, which is, outside of the hammers, the favorite thing of mine to get in a run like this, so his reward is especially important to a run like this. So, especially important.
Both that healed?
What was that?
Nothing. I just really appreciate that. It's like, ugh, you bested me. Here, have a heart.
Yeah, I mean, I stabbed through him enough that eventually I got to get to his heart.
So it turns out that Thanatos is a goat.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, centaurs aren't goats. Wait a second. Wait. Who am I saying? Wait a second. Are centaurs the horse people?
That sounds right to me. Oh, so I think this is an example of what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. So we got either god here.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. I am also a mythological creature eater. Ooh, creature eater. That's my new punk outfit. I'm writing and recording a new punk album for anyone who's curious, and I'm calling it Creature Eater.
Yeah, stay tuned. Right. I'll post the link when it drops.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go. Let me just pick up my acoustic real quick. Quentin, you don't have to keep talking. Just press play. I'm gonna play some acoustic punk.
With
music.
that being said, what I'm gonna do.
This is my new song, Creature Eater.
With that being said, what I'm gonna do is continue to talk. With him having said that, no. But here we have a Erebus room there, as you can see at the bottom. And earlier I talked about how sometimes I would want to go to them if I have nothing but bad choices and lose on purpose. And then a previous instance at the very beginning, I went to one to get the heart because that's a good reward, right? And this is kind of in the middle. So both of those rooms are not ideal, and going down there right now is not useful. Like, I don't need the palm to increase myself, but also I'm not going to purposely lose because the palm doesn't do anything detrimental for me. If anything, it technically does do something beneficial because it makes one of my boons better, which makes them sell for more later, but I don't want to get hit on basis that I don't want to take damage for getting hit.
Wait a second. Q. Question.
No.
You spit? You spit on the mic?
No.
Why would I do
that to my mic?
Why haven't I heard you rap before? Let me hear a couple of the old QB smash bars.
So,
let's hear that.
Live
fire.
on stream. Most important thing to know about the stream is don't trust Whitefire.
What do you mean? Of course I trust him. He's saying everything that I want to hear, and you should always believe people who tell you what you want to hear.
So I believe from the start here, yes. So this is what I mentioned earlier about how when you're in Erebus, you can get enemies that are from future areas. These look like the shieldmen from Erebus, but they're actually the shieldsmen from the Hades fight, which are different than the shieldsmen from Erebus. Just combine things, you'll get something.
From them hairy boys.
So yeah, they are sped up and powered up. So that is less than ideal. And there you can see a demonstration.
Always believe people on the internet is also the name of my entire album, Childish Gambino cover band. We just cover the entire because the internet.
Honestly, like watching this.
That was a great follow up. I just wanted to interrupt you to make that joke.
Oh, here we go. That's you guys see who's peeking on the screen now? Not only did we have the shielded enemies, we also got a mini boss in an Erebus room. So that's always fun.
Wait, is this a mini boss I've never seen before?
It's from Asphodel. It looks like the giant Gorgon.
It's a pile of rocks.
No, it's the giant Gorgon. It's grayed out.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't tell because of it being grayed out. I was about to say I couldn't think of the Pokemon's name fast enough, but it looked like a rock Pokemon.
And as you can see here, I had enough of them. So we called on our friends. It got rid of the Exalted Shade, is that what that's called? And then just left this friend. Thankfully, if you're going to give me a mini-boss, this might be like the best one to give me. It's not pretty good. I don't think I got hit by that mini-boss.
The Gorgons are pretty standard. They're not terrible.
But yeah, honestly, all right. And then we get the special room here, which is nice because free room. Also, I get health, which, you know, all around nice. Also, I get a fish. Do I get a fish? I better not miss this fish. Maybe I missed this fish. Who knows? Who
Sploosh.
knows?
Kabloom!
Oh, I'm so patient.
Oh, my Wind Waker
I am
fans
so
out there.
patient. Look at me go.
Quentin, when are you going to play Wind Waker?
So like I said, I would
stream?
never miss a fish. I played one Zelda game on stream. I'm crazy.
One.
One. Yes.
And also the wrong one.
I played the best one. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, which one did you play? Was it Skyward Sword? Is that the best?
Say the
one, in
wrong
your
one
opinion?
and don't even know which one I played.
Of course. Well, because it wasn't Wind Waker.
I
Wind
played
Waker's
Link's
the right
Awakening
one.
for the record.
Oh shit. Okay, that Link's Awakening was literally my first Zelda game, and probably yours too, because we grew up in the same house generally with the same game.
I never
so...
played a Zelda game before that. Before I played that on
Whoa!
stream.
Wait, did you play the new one?
Yes.
Or was it the old school? Ah, okay, that's understandable. I actually haven't played the new one. I really want to, but I grew up playing the Game Boy Color Link's Awakening DX version. Oh, so good, so good. Did you like it? Hades is great. Let's talk about Zelda.
Hades is pretty great. Thankfully, I get the 30% health here because I did actually need it. I have a lot of max health, but I don't have full health, and I feel like we're getting pretty close to the Theseus fight, right? That's true. I did forget about Breath of the Wild. I did play Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
It's okay. I don't think Breath of the Wild is a Zelda game either. I think it's a game. I think it's a good game.
Oh, it's a good game, and that's not a Zelda game. Hot takes on this stream.
No, Zelda games are great.
But
it's a good
as you can see,
okay, that ain't a hot take. I like Breath of the Wild.
As you can see, they're dealing me
good.
fantastic room rewards here. Not only did we just get the special room here to get the health, we also got another max health. So I feel like in the beginning they were giving me a lot of max health, but I feel like they're also just consistently giving me a lot of max health in this run, which is very good. Because again, Spear wouldn't have been my first choice for this challenge. I mean, my choice was to do all of them.
Well, it was your second.
It was the second I beat it with, you know? For anybody who's curious, when I was starting this out and I was choosing what weapon to use, because I said I beat it with the shield first, it wasn't that I thought the shield was fantastic for this challenge, so I chose it. I just chose whichever weapons had darkness.
That which makes sense. It's a really funny admission that I don't even need to bring up, but you hit me up to talk on stream with you about these runs, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, let me pull up Hades real quick, and I'll play through a couple rounds and just get like, you know, get names and stuff and get all that stuff reallocated in my brain because it's been a minute. And it's like, okay, cool. First one we're doing is shield, and I load it in, and I'm like, oh shit, it's got the purple on the bow.
Exactly.
Sorry, Quentin. I'm playing the bow.
Lovely. Yeah, no, honestly.
Also, White, real quick question. What is your favorite Zelda game? I have to know. White.
So honestly, when I was playing through these, playing through Hades in general, not even just this challenge, I oftentimes did just rely on the darkness thing. I didn't want to like master or specify any weapon. Like, and this isn't to shame any other people. You know, anybody else can do what they want naturally. But like sometimes you'll see people who have runs and they'll be like, yeah, clears with the bow, 432. Clears with every other weapon. It's like less than 10. And I just kind of followed the darkness almost every single time, unless I had a specific reason not to.
No, definitely. I think that's what all good people say. I just follow the darkness unless I have no specific reason not to.
Yeah.
Also,
Life
White,
lessons.
you're wrong, and I'm sorry for you. Go play Wind Waker. It's not everyone's favorite, but it's my favorite, so that means it's the best. Also buy a GameCube.
This is actually an interesting point because I talk about how the Exalted Shades are kind of like some of the more difficult enemies for me, especially with the Swordsman in particular. But the Spear's long range is particularly useful. I feel like this is kind of just nonchalantly been able to fight them. Even the shield guys, the Spear's not ideal for getting behind them and hitting behind them, but like it's ideal in that you never want to be close to begin with, so you kind of stay a comfortable range from them, you know? And it attacks fast compared to like something. I mean, if you have flurry shot with the bow, obviously, but like the standard spear, I feel like attacks faster than the standard bow with their attacks, and thus, if the shield guy goes to charge up an attack, you'll interrupt that attack as well, which is beneficial.
Yeah, they're definitely not my favorite to fight. I said it last time with the shield run, but also the chariots. But you've given me some better ways to handle those guys, and honestly, how to handle these guys. You just dodge right through them and try and get them from the back as quick as possible.
Yeah, so the shield guys are hit stunnable from behind, as you can see there, which is fantastic. Stun lockable, hit stunnable. I don't know, words are fun.
There's stands for pain.
And also, as you saw earlier, the one did the dash and then the spin attack. I've mentioned this on shield, but I feel like it's just on shield. I've mentioned this on shield. I mentioned this on stream, but I feel like it's just very important, is armored enemies can have different attack patterns than non-armored enemies. That's why that one didn't do the spin after his dash attack, because he wasn't an armored enemy. I feel like the time on this one, I mean, 22:17. I know speedrunners hate him for one simple trick. No, speedrunners would laugh at him for one simple trick. But I feel like that's pretty good for this run and this playstyle, right? For no tight deadline and like giving enemies all the health, and again, just in general my playstyle. I feel like we're not 80 minutes into this one in Elysium.
No, but it's coming through. 22 minutes in is not bad, and at 305 health, Jesus.
This is the part where I stop and decide. In a previous run that we did on stream, I tried to fight those guys with the gloves because sometimes you just don't feel like making them chase you and explode, you know? Me, the guy who patiently will stand in place and stun lock enemies to death, doesn't like tediously having to run away from things. You know, it's different if I'm hitting those things tediously.
Yeah, it feels like you're accomplishing something.
But thankfully with the spear here, obviously you can keep a safe distance. But that I was just explaining why a moment ago I was in the top corner just chilling. I was just like, do I want to outrun these guys or do I want to, you know, what do I want to do about this? This third one, I mean, I guess it's a given that this third wave of enemies here was the most difficult for me because I got hit. But it's actually not a bad draw because these people give them invincibility, but the invincibility doesn't factor into what I was just talking about. They will still explode if they run into a wall, even while they have their invincibility. So if you wanted to...
Oh, I didn't know during their invincibility. That makes sense, though. They literally explode.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a kamikaze on their part. It's not an attack that you're doing to damage them, you know? And then that's actually a fun fact for anybody who didn't know. If the invincible enemies are the only enemies left on the screen, they will explode themselves because they have nothing to do. So I kill the bottom one by hit stun locking him, but the one on the left or the top of the screen, you'll see that he just he gives up.
I feel stronger.
But yeah, I think that's the final shop. I believe that's the final shop. I believe the Zag believes that I believe that's the final. There we go. I was trying to motivate him to walk forward. But yeah, and here we get the Theseus fight, which...
Oh, yeah. So you didn't have a... oh my god, not Arcturus. What? Asterius. You did not have an Asterius mid-boss in this one.
Correct. So he will be full...
So we're going to have Asterius at full
Yeah,
health.
not only will he be at full health, he also... Well, yeah, this doesn't have to do with him. I also won't have practiced against him with this weapon in this run. So, yeah, I feel like... I've said this before. I feel like the Elysium final boss, which is the Theseus Minotaur fight, and the Hades fight, I feel like are the big skill checks for runs if you're early on or if you're doing like a specific difficult challenge, right? Because again, the end run can be trivialized if you're just playing through the game comfortably, right? The end fight, I mean, can be trivialized if your build's just so good. But yeah, here I haven't fought against either of these with this weapon in this run, so yeah.
God, I just love that Theseus has bullets. It makes me so happy. He's just got a rack. It's just so good.
I've talked about before, I think I actually talked about on the last stream of this, that when this attack was one of my, not least favorite, as though I don't like it game design wise or anything, not like least favorite in that regard, but like most difficult for me personally to deal with, and that is the Minotaur doing that bull rush that he's doing there that you can see moves a bazillion miles per hour from off screen. So I didn't even get to see that he was going to do that. I mean, I guess he was standing still in place. I could tell just because he wasn't coming towards me. But I mentioned before that when you're dodging this attack, it's not as simple as just dashing through or around the pillar. You do have to kite him in a certain way. And that's kind of what I was talking about with enemies earlier that like directly follow you. He follows you with a little bit of AI logic. Like he knows not to follow you verbatim. And it's similar to what Hades does with the pillars in the final fight. But I don't even dash through the thing there. But yeah, he doesn't run into it there. And in general, if you're too close to the pillar when you do your dash, he won't really. You kind of have to lead him. You have to kite him to follow your path and then also go into the pillar. Like that.
There you go.
It also helps that that I saw the build up that time and that I was a comfortable distance away to begin with, which with the spear, you should consistently be a comfortable distance away. But yeah, it's still something to keep in mind with any weapon, even if you were doing like the gloves. You get your hits in on Asterius, but you don't say... There was an example of me dashing through it poorly. Luckily, I was able to recover, but the first dash through that I did, you can't just dash through. He knows what's going on. He's not going to follow my path that I did. He's going to chase me where I now am. So he just went below.
Which is good AI.
I think
Even if it makes me mad.
I think my spear can reach him while he's doing that attack without me getting hit, but I don't know for certain, and I would lean on the side of caution. I tried it there a couple times, but I still tried it relatively cautionally.
Wait, you're telling me that you don't want to tease the Minotaur with mine is longer than yours? You're telling me that's not what
I'm gonna let him have that one.
Mine's longer.
As you can see here, I actually didn't know that this was the thing that could happen, but the Minotaur does that same dash attack that he seems to love in this specific encounter, and he hits Theseus and stops, and not in like an intentional way to hit him to create a wave like they can do when they're not in extreme measures. He just bumps into him. So that worked out pretty well. Theseus is a pal. Not only does he barely try to attack me in this version, he also takes an attack for me.
What a nice guy. And we all love nice guys.
Yeah, Theseus gets a bad rep, you know, we love him.
Nice guys like
So
Theseus.
this is kind of what I was referring to earlier. You want to be like this distance away from the pillar before you dash through it. Or even if, like, I could go from here. If there's enough, if it wasn't right on my tail right now, I could go from here and then walk up to it and then dash through it when you're closer. You don't have to dash from this distance, but you want to create separation from the pillar so that he'll follow a direct trail to it. And of course, also it's a timing thing. Again, if I would have did that way prematurely, then he would have went to where I was. So yeah, the spear is interesting as far as damage output, right? It does, if they stand in place, I guess I did want to prove, you know? And Theseus helped me out again there. Theseus is a pal. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like he gets a bad rap, right?
Just a nice guy.
He did maybe just riddle me with machine gun fire, but we're not going to talk about that.
It's not the bullets you give, it's the bullets you take.
That was... Yeah, I wasn't prepared for how poetic that was, actually.
I think John Lennon said that or something.
Well, that checks out. Speaking of, I believe on one of the previous streams, I was asked, like, and this was once the Minotaur was out of the fight, but, like, why do I not just comfortably stand in the red circles when the bullets are way up in the air? Partially because that's hard to do when you're in the middle of a fight. Even if it was just Theseus, it's just safer not to do that. But also because that's the strongest attack you can get hit by in this fight, as demonstrated there for 50 damage.
Literally the entirety of your health at the start of the game.
Yeah, that's stronger than Hades' big circle swipe, which does 40 damage.
That's survivable.
So
yeah, that's so I have a request. Your next run, I need you to do no upgrades, no nothing, no health upgrades, as little good as you can for yourself.
oh yeah, this one wasn't challenging enough. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, this wasn't challenging enough with every weapon. As I sit with my 2 heat.
But yeah, to the point I was making earlier, is like the spear is, I feel like, especially with the flurry jab here, and the shatter shackle, which I mean that's a given, but I feel like it's pretty decent damage output. If they stand in place and you get a comfortable distance where you're safe, and you can get a comfortable distance, it's not like if they stand in place and you have the gloves, you still can't feel comfortable to just unload because you have to be prepared to leave at any time. But with this, you can get some good damage in. Because you were talking earlier about like how long would the final fight take, for instance, but like Hades is a lot of standing still, much like the Minotaur keeps doing a lot of standing still.
I was gonna say this match is actually taking longer than it did with the shield, just because of how useful and versatile the shield is at just outputting damage when people follow you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually have talked about that before. Is when choosing a weapon for this, you can take one of 2 approaches, or at least I had one of 2 approaches, which is choose a weapon that you only care about one of the attacks and do whatever it takes to not lose that attack, even if that includes just hoping. Because there was a couple times earlier where like they could have gave me like special something else.
Oh my god.
Or attack something else.
White is right. White is right, and I don't I don't completely agree with that statement, but White Fire is right. In that you need to do a no dash run. Absolutely. I would very much like to see you just not have to get hit at all.
I don't know about that.
Which is kind of what that implies. Oh, come on, have fun. Rap on stream for us. Do it.
I think a no hit run would be more enticing to me than a no dash run. I think it also is probably more doable. The dash is too essential to the gameplay loop here.
Oh, were you scared?
But yeah, as you can see, we
don't want that noise.
we got rid of the Minotaur here. We have Theseus here with, I have less than a third of my health. I did get hit a lot in this fight. I feel like I said that last time where I was like, I got to hit a lot, but also I think it was just my own sloppy play. I don't think that's anything, like you said earlier, everything was fair and avoidable, and like even me personally, I know to avoid them. I just think the execution was a little off, which goes to what I said earlier. Me feeling comfortable with the strategy, but not always with the execution. But now that we have just Theseus and I'm at 1/3 health, I have no fears in the world, right? So just standard Theseus like right here is
Yeah, and it might look like you don't have that much health, like percentage-wise on the bar, but you got nearly 100 health even with just taking that hit there. Like you still got enough room.
And I talked about this before, but like I'm gonna rely on the comfortable pillar technique, even though you could do the similar thing that I talked about earlier. Like if you're worried about efficiency or getting as much damage as possible in on him, you would do like a dash through technique. But I kind of just rely on
Well,
those.
and again, this isn't about speed. Like you say, this isn't about speed. Sometimes it's better to make sure you don't get hit than it is to get that one extra hit in.
Not only that, I was a little worried not worried, but I took a damage a few times, as you can see here, especially the 20 that I took from his spear throw, because Poseidon just has big circles. Yeah, circles.
He's got big AoEs.
He's got big circles.
Massive AoEs.
You know, everybody's impressed.
Can we talk about Poseidon and his circles for a minute?
Everybody's impressed by his AoEs, you know? But no, so like avoiding them while also avoiding Theseus, that's kind of what it did what it was supposed to do. That is another example of what you were talking about earlier, though, where you said that one of my complaints, if I had any, I don't like to use that word if I could help it, but one of my things that I would prefer change, just for me personally, would be like the balance of the weapons. I would also say there's some other things that fall into that category as well, like the gods that
Thank you for talking to the shade.
yeah, every time. The gods that Theseus can pull, I don't feel like they're balanced, specifically Demeter, in my opinion. I feel like Demeter, because like I don't even think Poseidon is especially difficult. I just in that circumstances with me, and that was, you know, my execution flaw. But like Demeter in particular for Theseus, I feel like just isn't proportional to the other gods that he can pull, as in more difficult.
Nice job on getting literally all of your health back, by the way.
Did it?
Well, literally almost all of your health.
Oh my gosh, I actually wasn't paying attention. What did I do? I took the fountain, obviously, but wait, how was I at 144 before that?
I was about to.
Oh, because of the
Oh,
Patroclus.
yeah, you had something that bumped you.
Yep,
yeah.
that makes sense. And then I'm assuming I just bought like a standard health from the shop.
Not always as easy to work out just getting literally all of your health back at the end of floor like that. So not too bad for the run. Let's be real.
Hey, that was a loose usage of the word literally there, man. We're 323,
actually.
you know? Very risky. You know, 323, that's basically the equivalent of having no health, you know? Might as well be a one-hit run at this point.
Yeah, when you're 12 points off of max, you're basically dead in this type of run. Yeah, so what you're gonna want to do when you get the spear, you're gonna want to make it to Tartarus. As soon as you're in Tartarus, you're gonna want to make it to room number 3.
So yeah, once you have the spear, the gameplay strategy for the spear, this is for anybody who's checking this out, who's kind of new, is you want to make sure that you find approximately 30 centaur hearts during your run. That really makes the spear a better weapon.
Let me stop you there, bud, because 30 is being conservative. You're looking closer to 45 if you want to make it work.
And you also want a big one in the Styx area. That always helps. To go with the big one in Elysium, to go with the Styx shop. You know, you have to have.
Let me tell you about how I got a big one.
You have to have a lot of heart to do a spear run.
Ooh, Whitefire is right. Didn't catch the fish. Run ruin.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Beyond
There's no
saving.
footage of it. You guys are making something up. There definitely wasn't a fish. I don't see a fish on the screen right now.
Whoever edits Quentin's videos, can we get an edit in and show how he definitely caught the fish?
See, your mistake there, friendly guest. Whoever edits QB's videos would be QB.
I thought you were about to say whoever you are as a guest. My esteemed guest, whoever you are. No, but again, so we are finally at my favorite part of the game, the part where I just want to die. I literally have never hated. I've owned so many different types of animals, tarantulas, rats, spiders, tarantulas. But I hate rats now because of this game, because of these rooms.
I will say, I thought you were going in a different direction. I thought you were just going to be like, yeah, and rats were the worst, so that's why I hate this area. But no, I mentioned earlier that like flurry attacks, whether it be like the jab or again just the fist by default or anything like that, they're good for depleting. I referenced the clones earlier for the wretched enemies, wretched thugs, I believe they're called, something like that. But yeah, it works here as well with the rats. It's having a fast attack is rhythm faster. Redundant. But yeah, it's just more useful than having like one single strong attack like the Arthur sword, for instance, in this specific scenario. Also, I did this in previous runs and didn't really touch on it, but when I get in a room like this and it's just like a flurry of things coming at me, I may have even did it with the shield at one point. I generally like to put my back to a corner and then just attack, and that's why I didn't even move. There was one rat left, and I was like, oh, I'm here. You have to come to me eventually. It'll be okay. I like to put my back against the wall and have a lot of heart. That's generally the themes of the spear, you know?
Yeah, you're the real comeback kid.
Zagreus is the little Mac of the underworld.
The underdog. I suppose Cerberus would be the underdog.
Yeah, that's your best one of the night.
That one was legitimately off the dome, which I apologize. I should have written it down earlier. That's not fair to people who are less funny than me.
Yeah, you know, it puts us in a tough bind. Us left funny people? You right funny people have it down pat, but us left funny people?
Whitefire, I have no clue who you are, but you are my favorite. You are my favorite person in chat that I've had the lovely kindness of talking to.
So we've seen this a million times in my stream runs, but just having enemies together to get them in a place where you can hit stun lock them, that is, I think the word we used before was like mitigation. That's ideally what I go for in runs if possible, or in rooms or situations. Obviously that's not like something you do at boss fights, so I'm not like, hey, build your whole strategy around this. But yeah,
just get Hades to stand behind a wall and make sure he doesn't move. I mean,
to be fair, Hades can be
that's very optional.
Let's say, to be fair, Hades can be pretty beneficial to you when he like will do certain attacks that have him standing still for a long time and also not being a threat at the same time. Like when he calls out the vases, or if he's summoning the things and you get close, or summoning the laser beams and you get close enough not to get hit by them, so on and so forth. He can play into your hand.
Speaking of tangents, it was very fun watching my 9-year-old play the old Tony Hawk's games on PS2, and he found out how to like jump against a fake wall, like not a fake wall, but like the invisible walls, and like double jump until like you get up really high and you can land in areas you're not supposed to be. I just thought I'd share that. It was just really cool. It was like, I remember when I was 9.
I don't think there's much you can do in this game in regards to something like that. There's not really many cheap tactics with like, well, there are definitely tactics you can take advantage of with like the terrain or anything, but there's not really any like dash through. There aren't the obviously intentional, you know.
No, and I think I had asked you about that during the shield run, but like they're really. Like, even with speedruns and whatnot, like,
there's no level skip,
doesn't seem like the kind of game where it's just like, drop through the area, finish the level. It's like, I mean, if there is, I don't know, but it just doesn't really seem like it. This game's pretty polished.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like Quentin's gameplay in this run, am I right? High five, chat.
I was actually getting ready to say that I think...
Chat, where you at?
I was getting ready to say that I think a lot of people enjoy things like that, like, being able to do a level skip or, like, bending the game's rules, you know, like... I don't want to say like glitching per se, but you know, I suppose that to a degree, but like taking advantage of the game's unintended mechanics. And I kind of like the fact that like, for me at least, again, my playstyle, I don't know if there are other people that can do things like this, but the way that I handle this game, I feel like it's very in line with like, yeah, everything that's being done here is the way the game was intended to be played. Not specifically to use my play style, but like it is within the parameters. Like the
exact specific ones that you chose. They just designed it well enough that regardless of how you lay things out.
Oh, the redemption
there
fish.
Is. Oh, there we go. I didn't even know you could catch one over in that
No,
spot.
I did never miss a fish earlier. We did confirm that. That did not happen. But I did perfect catch
right.
this one to make up for the one that I didn't miss before.
So, what's your favorite fish?
I don't like fish. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of things that live in water. They're too strange.
Birds aren't real, and I hate fish. My new tattoo. Also, I have a specific request for you now that you have all of these world records in your specific way. I want you to, we were talking about tattoos last time, like what kind of Hades tattoo would you get? What I request of you is, you know when you beat one of the bosses, one of the level bosses, and it has like that gold thing up at the top with Zagreus on either end, like pointing to the sky or whatever? Yeah. I want you to get that as a tramp stamp, but with lettering that says "you win" in the middle of it.
I'm not going to do that.
What? That would be perfect.
I know you put a lot of. I know you put a lot of thought and effort into that.
So, Quentin, I don't know who you hang out with on the daily regs, but that is so you. All of your friends would love it, and they'd be like, "Oh God, I love your tramp stamp."
So.
Zagreus is like my homeboy, so you're like my homeboy.
So here, this kind of was a weird pull actually, because I was gonna say that we got like a double, like dose of rats. I was trying to think of a better way to say double dose, to be honest, right?
I just like seeing them vibrate.
But we had two different rats. We had like the little, there's the little ones again. But like, I feel like in the first wave there was legitimately like one single little rat. I could be wrong, but it looked like there was like one single little rat and then 3 big ones. And I was like, that's really a weird enemy choice. But yeah,
Game really fucked me on that one.
I feel like with honestly, with most of the Styx enemies so far, I feel like the spear has been kind of like comfortable for them, because the projectile ones, the spear has good enough range, and the areas are so designed in a way that gives you enough walls, right? So you don't need a projectile that's actually like launchable. Even like the shield, for instance, when we throw that around a bend and let it live somewhere while I'm let it be somewhere while I'm walking around. I don't necessarily need to do that because the corridors are pretty straight, so I can line them up straight for the hit stunning, like we were talking about earlier, how the spear attacks fairly straight, you know?
Real quick, because I don't know I don't know if this just like recently popped up or if I literally just did not like notice it until now. What is this progress bar on the left hand side of the screen underneath your heat?
I don't know what you're looking at.
But above your health and below the heat number. Wait for you to come back on screen.
The thing that shows you all the boons that you have?
Is that what that is?
And I don't have any boons, so that's why it's empty.
Oh, maybe it just looks weird. Is it always on screen? Am I seriously just noticing
Yes.
this? This is what happens when you are the type of
You're
person
the one
who
playing.
literally stares. I just stare at the character and I play the game. I don't think too hard. You don't understand. I like video game music.
Oh my goodness. Who have I invited on?
Dude, this is so fun. You are so good at this, and I will continue to compliment you about it. But that doesn't make me smart.
As you can see there, we did get a Satyr Sack in the second room, which is convenient. We also did get the full health, which was a boss fight room if it wouldn't have been the Satyr Sack. So not only did we get the Satyr Sack on the second room, we also got the, like I said, a 50 health instead of the standard 25. So we have 410 health, which is an awful lot.
So close to funny. Yeah.
Going into this fight, right? Especially doing boonless, so you can't like enhance the amount of health you get or anything like that. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Quentin, can you say second room Satyr Sack 5 times fast?
I don't know. We'll never find out.
Second room Satyr Sack, second room Satyr Sack, second room Satyr Sack.
There you go, you guys. I said it 3. I bet I could do 5.
Second room Satyr Sack is also my follow-up punk album to whatever the other one was earlier. Creature Eater, that's what it was. Creature Eater followed up by second room Satyr Sack.
So here we can see that finally we get to fight Dad with a spear, right? Like much like he has. This is an even fight. All terms are equal.
Careful now, because your first 2 hits don't count.
Also, actually, this is one small thing. I didn't think of this going in. This is one small situation where like using the spin dash could be beneficial. So this is really silly and really small, but this is the way that my brain works. Is obviously you have the 2 pillars that are going to exist for the whole fight, but those little pillars that are around me right now that get destroyed when they get hit, they can get in your way of moving if you're not actively attacking. Like you can't walk through them, but you can destroy them. So when Hades disappears, which he does at the beginning of the fight pretty quick, my usual strategy is to do my little like whatever attack that I would use to destroy pots, which is usually your best like AoE attack, to destroy them real quick, which would probably be the dash attack with this. But yeah, like the spin will probably just delete most of the ones in an area. It's a really small, silly thing, but you see me miss a bunch of times in a row right there. he just walks through them, which is fantastic. But yeah, they can halt you a little bit, which is, you know, a very, very small and minute thing that's probably not worth ever focusing on. But if you want something small and minute to focus on, we're here for that.
Oh, don't make me say it. Oh, you lined up the joke, so I'm so glad we're here to talk about the video game Hades.
Yeah. Yep. No, I feel like the spear's damage output is pretty good, right? I feel like it got rid of the skull faster than even... And that's actually something interesting. I was going to say faster than the gloves did for me because I was using the Gilgamesh gloves. But the Gilgamesh gloves did big damage to an enemy that would stand there and let you do it. They didn't do big damage fast. They did big damage over chunks of time. It's kind of a weird dynamic because it was like, which one has better DPS? Well, DPS damage per second, but which one has better damage per minute would be like the Gilgamesh one, you know? Or even damage per 10 second. Obviously, minute is like an extreme case.
It's that time buildup.
So, like, if Hades was going to be stationary and let me attack him, the range also helps with the spear. Again, with the Gilgamesh gloves, I would have to get all the way to the skulls to attack them. Whereas he threw 2 in different directions, and I stood in place and was, you know, within reach of both of them, you know? Also, again, here, I can hide behind the pillar while being within reach of that skull. And this is, it goes into what we talk about a lot, but like the strategizing mid-fight and kind of just knowing things. It wasn't, not only was it not worth it to go for that skull because I could get hits in here, I wasn't sure if I could kill that skull. It still had both of its hearts and its countdown was already halfway over. So like just get the hits in on that, you know? Just the prioritizing.
You deserve it.
Versus that one that I did choose to go for. And also still did my kiting of Hades. Again, for anybody who's not familiar with kiting as a term in video games, it's like a kite that you would take to the part in that it trails behind you as you move, everywhere that you move. Not literally a kite in real life. It's probably wind blowing, things like that. But the point is to get your enemies to chase you directly, like in the exact pattern that you were going. So I was destroying the skull while also walking a circle around the pillar to force Hades to walk a circle around the pillar where he can't hit me, because he can't hit me through the pillar, you know? So that was the strategy
and
there.
Here we can imagine the mighty QB pausing for a water break.
I don't like how good that narration was. I think I was also probably pausing because I believe he just hit his first summons phase. And so I've talked about this on stream before. Obviously, the second phase of the Hades fight is very different, but I think the summons in the first phase may be the most... Well, it depends on RNG. It's the most RNG-dependent part, so it's the most, like, potential to be different or, like, bad. It's the only RNG part, so it's the most dynamic part, I guess would be the word that I'm looking for here. It doesn't just rely on execution, it relies on execution as far as, like, impromptu execution, realizing what you drew and how to deal with it.
Yeah. I was about to say, dude, these dudes have so much secondary health.
Yep.
This is crazy.
Yeah, and I think we've mentioned this every single stream, but I just think it's important for anybody who only watches like one of these videos or anything. The Hades enemy, friend of the channel, Whitefire, mentioned that his summons have a disproportionately high amount of armor, but also a disproportionately small amount of health. So as soon as you get through their armor, you kind of just deplete the actual health bar. So they're basically all armor. Which is interesting to consider, again, if you're doing a regular run or even a run like this, and you have a hammer that upgrades your armor, for instance, and you're like, oh, well, bosses don't have armor, so it's not going to be useful in them. But it's going to be useful in this fight and the Lerny fight. So that's something to consider.
Oh, there he goes.
I will say that I got a pretty
More
good...
daddy magic.
Yeah, I will say that I got a pretty good draw on that one. That summons and that the Lout is, you know, he may be one of the best enemies that you can draw from Hades because he's just not much of a threat. I mean, he's just straight up a Tartarus enemy. It's got to be the only Tartarus enemy that he sends out, right?
Oh, now that you mention it, I think so.
And just in this battle, I wanted to see if I could hit that. Even with destroying the environment, it wouldn't hit the skull trap up there. But the rings don't go full screen, and that one was so far off screen that it made it easy to avoid. I just went to the right half of the screen, and I was okay.
Yeah, it'd be nice that when you attack the skulls, that they would just like bounce away. Maybe that wouldn't be as useful as them staying there so you could just kill them, but it'd be nice to just smack them to the other side of the screen.
I do think it's interesting. I see what you're saying, and I'm honestly, like you said, I'm not sure which one would be better, because having them in place is beneficial if you're able to kill them, like if you want to get all the hits in, versus like knocking them away if you don't think you're able to.
I was gonna say, at the start of the fight, it seemed like the first few skulls that he threw out, you were kind of just like 2 or 3 hits would kill him, but now it seems like you got to just sit there and like take your time taking out those skulls.
It may be.
I don't know if you're doing less damage now or something.
No, I'm not doing less damage, but it may be the fact that he like
Which I wouldn't presume.
could have been off screen at the time and I could just confidently hit them, or he could have summoned them close enough for me to not have to walk over to them. There's a few factors.
Or something like that, yeah.
But yeah, in regards to what you were saying about pushing the skulls, I do think that's interesting to consider which enemies can also be knocked back, because there's enemies, just like standard enemies, that also can't be pushed back. The little, like, they almost look like mini versions of Lerny, the little hydras that come out in Asphodel and shoot the little one, like, laser at you, like arrow-shaped laser thing.
Yeah.
They can't be pushed, for instance. They won't move out of the spot they're on the ground, like a Diglett, you know? So it's just interesting to consider that like a knockback build would have less effectiveness against them. So the first round of summons that he does, so in the first phase, his first health bar, Hades has 2 spots where he stops and summons, which is, I don't think it's literally, I think it may be like 60% and 30%, but it's, you know, equivalent of like 1/3 through the bar and then 2/3 through the health bar. He summons ads. And they're not the same. So the first one I got the guy who throws the bombs, and then this one we got both of the louts. First one I got a bomb throwing guy and a lout, and then this one we just got 2 louts. So I do think it's interesting that I feel like in my mind they're like waves of enemies, so the second wave is going to be harder by default, but in this case it was specifically not, you know? I don't think the bomb throwing guy hit me, but I would still prefer to have louts over him.
Oh yeah. They are much easier to handle in a situation like this.
And when I mentioned earlier, like the first life bar with enemies summoned is like the most dynamic part of the fight. That's another interesting thing, is like Hades is still there fighting while you have to deal with these summons, while you have to avoid his attacks, which I guess is part of dealing with the summons, but I was thinking more like get attacks in on the summons. But he can also summon skulls, right? So in the beginning of the fight, he summoned like 3 skulls, and like you said, it wasn't really a big deal for me. I don't know if I killed all 3 or I killed 2 and then dodged the 3rd. It just wasn't really a big deal. But with 2 enemies that are armored that you can't hit stun, and 3 skulls that are coming, and him also still doing his own attacks on the other time, it kind of changes the dynamic. I'm just going to stick with my one word of the fight, you know?
No, it absolutely does, especially as he's getting faster now in this last quarter of health, or 5th of health, or whatever.
It's like the worst potential situation you could be in the first health bar is like summons out, skulls ready to explode, him doing an attack on you, specifically like a big AoE one, you know? Mm-hmm. Especially when you're doing a run like this. Dashes. Yeah, especially when you're doing a run like this and you only have 1 dash yourself to try and deal with that. We've talked about...
Just out of curiosity, not having seen the other ones yet, what was the easiest one? What was the easiest weapon that you ended up using?
I don't...
Like, maybe not got through the fastest, but just like, it was like, this was the one I didn't have a problem with.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to talk about that until I've done all of them.
Oh, that's understandable.
But yeah, this was, like I said, the second one that I've done, and I've only taken 60 damage, but also, I've talked about how the hammers are part of your build, and I've said this jokingly because it's not build in that it's customizable, it's build in that it's RNG, I suppose, although execution can matter with Thanatos and Erebus. But in my mind, I consider the hammers part of your build and your max health part of your build in this kind of run, in a boonless, mirrorless run.
Oh, for sure.
So this obviously was a good build. So it's like, do you judge the spear based on this? Because if we're getting close to finishing and I still have this amount of health, I could just cash out my health for damage, right? I could just afford to spare hits, which makes a difference. Welcome in, Comfy Couch.
Yeah, Comfy Couch, that's almost exactly how I felt about watching this. I'm the streamer's brother. And I play Hades on the side. I love the game, absolutely. But when Q mentioned, like, oh yeah, I'm doing 32 heat, no boons, and it's just like, oh my god, I'm struggling over here with 2 heat, just trying to have fun with the game. And it's all about knowledge, as I keep seeing repeated over and over with all these different weapons. It's just knowing your enemies, knowing what to expect, and knowing how to apply what you do and don't have options of.
I will say that, like, you're very complimentary of me, but I do feel the need to clarify and say, like, when you say it's all about knowledge, I would say that's not true. It's not all about knowledge. Knowledge is very important, but it is equal parts in accordance with...
sucks at this game. He's actually really bad. He's just super smart.
Well... Obviously, I took a long pause break here because we're going into second phase. And again, for anybody who's watching this, I'm not really a speed runner, so I'm not worried about real-time speed. I'm not worried about in-game speed. My strategy revolves around mitigating threats and being efficient and safe with dealing, not even efficient, being safe with dealing damage. So yeah, I just took a nice breather. You know, this part of doing a difficult challenge is to get your nerves and everything in place. No, it's not just the smarts, it's also the emotions and the anxiety control. And oh yeah, execution is important.
It's punching your dad while he's impervious.
So here, I'm using Achilles. Again, for anybody who's watching this, I use it on second phase because, I mean, I don't want to say second phase is harder or riskier because we were just talking about how the most dynamic part is the first phase with summons out. But you want to get all the hits in on Hades himself, so you wouldn't want to necessarily use it on the summons unless they were causing you a ton of trouble. But yeah, I use the summon on the second health bar of Hades, and you want to use it at a specific opportunity where they're both going to hit him. Which the second phase includes him not teleporting away, which is nice. But when he's doing this attack that he's doing here, they won't hit him, for instance. Or he could potentially dash, and maybe they won't hit him. He was standing in place, and it was a safe time to pop Achilles right away. Which does a nice chunk to the health bar, as you can see.
Yes, it definitely does. I was going to ask, but you ended up explaining why it is that you don't generally do it towards the lower end of his health bar instead of right at the start, basically.
Yeah.
Right at the start of his second bar, of course.
Yep, so I want to pick the first opportune time and then take advantage of that.
Yes.
And also, if, for instance, I was low on health or anything, I don't want that to have to be something I have to consciously think about when he's low on health. I know you could think just, oh, press it and end it. But like if I'm focused on dodging and executing, I don't want to think about, is he able to get hit by this right now? I know that I efficiently got the 3,000 damage, and I'm comfortable with that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He does have 2 phases to this second phase. Like when he gets half health, he'll go invulnerable for a second, and then things will change a little bit. The most obvious example is that beam attack that he just does. Instead of doing 3, he'll do like an all-encompassing beam in every direction. So there are technically 2 phases here, and you know the second one is probably technically more difficult. But for me, they're not that drastic of a change between them in like your general game plan. So with that being said, that's why I just took it with the first opportunity even. Because I think when I first started this, I was like, oh, I'll wait till second phase of second health bar, right? So after he goes invulnerable, but I just don't think that's significant enough to be worth it.
I mean, it's understandable. Of course, again, the general fear of somebody who is less, I don't want to say less smart about it, but less smart about my gameplay, right? You know, in my head, it's like, I'll just get this shit over with as fast as possible. But you can't really think that way when you're doing something like this.
Yeah, another example, and again, I think I've mentioned this most runs, but another example is like in the Theseus fight. I know a lot of times if I'm just doing a standard run, and I believe I've been told that like speedrunners do this as well, or maybe I'm just making that up, who knows. But like a lot of people will just use whatever their summon is at the start of that fight because both of them are standing together, just ready to be hit. And so, especially if you have an AoE one like Thanatos or Meg, you can comfortably hit both of them without worrying about it missing. But for me, I wait until second phase Minotaur for the same thing I was saying here. That's when he's at his most threatening. And I have damage control active for this challenge, so I couldn't use it at the start in regards to that anyway. So that's my mindset there.
Ooh, getting so close. Ooh, any damage at this point is scary.
That was actually a bit of a situation there, and it's one of the big things for me, because like you think about gameplay, right? And I'm comfortable playing this game. I know a lot of how to use weapons, how to do things. Losing the offensive benefits of boons wasn't a big threat to me and my playstyle in regards to how I built the pack, other than just the lack of damage output, making things take longer. But I don't rely on like Athena dash in my gameplay. I don't rely on Ares cast going under shields in my gameplay. That's a fun thing that you could do when you're just having a normal run, but that's not really how I play anyway. One of the biggest things was being mirrorless and having a single dash. So as you can see here, he's doing that. Obviously I don't want to get hit by that, but at the same time that wave is coming down and I just don't time it perfectly, or have the awareness to know that the range that the wave is going, for instance. So as much as we want to talk about strategy and like me executing on basis that I beat it, it doesn't mean that you're flawless at any given time, you know?
Well, if you do a no-hit run, it will mean that, yes.
To be fair, if the no-hit is also 32 heat and boonless mirrorless, that's a factor. If not, you'd have 2 dashes.
I don't know, man. I'm just not gonna. I don't like. I can't. I don't know how to be impressed right now. You know what I mean? Like, let's say it's cool, but like.
So this is kind of a cute little thing. It's not a big thing in the grand scheme of things, but I don't use my Achilles dash very often. And by dash, I mean like the special attack dash. You'll see I use it here. Not only I hit that vase, and I don't have 2 dashes, so I can't hit the vase and then also dash through it because the width that it goes. But I use the Achilles thing as a dash and also a hit at the same time, and so then I can still dash out of it.
What a lovely smear screen.
Also, it gives me the benefit damage that I then waste on the vases instead of hitting him with. So that's always nice.
I just appreciated seeing Zagreus's body pulled halfway through existence.
Yeah, we all do.
Stretch me, daddy. Which is also what I plan on saying to Hades when I go to hell.
I hope that works out for you.
Stretch me, daddy.
So his beam attack is not really a threat if you're using the pillar technique, unless he also has the, I say pillar technique like it's not the obvious defense to what he's doing. The fabled, it's like when you're in a boxing match and like this guy, he's unstoppable because he uses the fabled technique of blocking the other person's punches. It's really, it bewilders all opponents. No, but as you can see,
now, if you haven't heard of this,
as you can see here, I took that one out, but the beams become most difficult if you're going to use the pillars. I mean, even if you were doing the hug technique, it would be a similar thing. But when you're using the pillars, they become a threat when there's also skulls on the screen. Specifically when there's skulls you can't reach, like if they're between his lasers and you. Because then you have to pay attention to their time and their waves while also still attacking him. Or not attacking him, while also still avoiding his attack, I should say. I was thinking in my mind about the next time I was going to be able to attack him. And this is what I was talking about earlier. All right, so there's the grand end. Let me not pause right before that. But this is what I was talking about earlier, where like there is a lot of times where Hades will just give you opportunities. You're not hit stunning him, but he'll just allow you to do what you want to do as far as damage is concerned.
I'm working up my special. You better not hit me.
Exactly.
I shall keep coming back, the same as you.
And like he says there, he will come back for 2 more runs because I did this with every weapon. And we have 2 more to go. So I'm very excited for that.
that's it. That's what I want. Instead of Hades vanquished, dad ass vanquished. That's what I need you to have tattooed on your lower back.
See, the thing
right above your butt as a tramp stamp.
The thing, Whitefire, is it may seem like I took a lot of damage in that last fight, but what I was actually trying to do there was my total health was 410. So I thought if I had 140, it would just kind of look cool, right? Because the only numbers were 1, 4, and 0. Now, mind you, I also could have did that.
These are the things that Quentin worries about.
Mid fight, yeah. I also could have did that by just not getting hit a single time. Then all the numbers would still be 1, 4, and 0. But that's just showing off, right? We're not here to show off.
Or you could somehow get down to 14 health.
There wouldn't be a second 0.
The 140.
But yeah, as Whitefire says there,
014.
And Whitefire's saying that, and obviously that wasn't my mentality like in the beginning of the fight, but that is what I was touching on. Like that is a factor of health as a resource. At the end there, I didn't have to fear. Even when I got hit a lot of times, it would be because I was getting hits in on him, or I just didn't have a lot to fear. And as you can see, Zagreus is taken out by a beetle.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because you've beaten the game enough times that you've seen any of the story-related stuff. So is it it's just jokes at this point? How he dies at the end?
Correct. Yeah, I mean they're not. Well, I was gonna say they're not all jokes. Some of them are just more serious, but they kind of sort of are, I suppose. But yeah, they're just descriptions of his end there.
But hey, no, seriously, congrats. That is gnarly. That's number 2 that I've been a part of, and it's just ridiculous to me to see it happen. It's pretty darn gnarly. Got to be honest.
Thank you.
Makes me want to try. I kind of want to go set it and just see how long. I'll send you a screenshot of the 4.5 minutes that I get through of gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just copy my build, copy my strategy. You'll be fine.
Oh, well. Anyway, thank you for having me on. Seriously, it's always fun to see these little things like this. These little things, like it didn't take an extreme amount of effort to learn all this stuff. But, yes.
Absolutely. While you're here,
if you can hear my meat slapping, this is me applauding you. And anyone else in the chat, if you want to throw a couple meat slaps in there, you do that because QB over here deserves it.
With that being said, do you want to tell people where they can find you one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. Go check out Spotify, Podbean, wherever, Apple Music, podcast, bull stuff. Go check it out. Look for the musical Moogle. We do a podcast where we listen to video game music, preferably stuff that you probably haven't heard, or if you have heard it, we're making fun of it because that's who we are as people. It's super, super relaxed, very fun, very raunchy. Check that out. And just for the fun of plugging it, my buddies and I, including a friend of the channel, Biane, just recently dropped an album that we've been working on. If you want to check that out, you can go on to, again, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. It's on YouTube, too, which is actually kind of weird to me, but because I didn't upload it myself. But look for Odd Planet. The album is Sunshower. We appreciate any listens, all that good junk. Thank you for tuning in to Quentin and his ridiculous video game skills.
Yeah. We barely even talked about music. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast having you.
Ooh, torn to shreds by the Titans.
Not me. Not me. I was torn to shreds by the Beatles.
No, you were torn to shreds by a beetle.
Right? We were talking about music.
It was
then
Ringo.
we got shredding and
Ringo
Beatles.
came out and just started stabbing you with a drumstick.
There it was, you know?